My stepsister threw a massive party at my inherited house while I was at work, caused $5,000 in damage, and my dad says, young people deserve fun. Posted to r/relationship_advice. I, 26F, never thought I'd be posting here, but I'm sitting in my car outside my own house right now, shaking with anger, and I need some perspective before I do something I might regret. Let me give you some background. My grandmother passed away in September after a long battle with cancer. She was the most important person in my life, more of a mother to me than my actual mother ever was. My parents divorced when I was 7, and my mom moved across the country for a job. She calls maybe twice a year. My dad remarried when I was 12 to Sandra, and Sandra brought her daughter Megan, now 22F, into the family. I won't pretend my relationship with Megan has ever been good. She's the kind of person who takes and takes without ever giving back. Growing up, if I had something nice, she wanted it. If I achieved something, she needed to one-up me. My dad, desperate to make his new marriage work, always sided with Sandra and Megan. "Keep the peace, sweetheart," he'd say. "She's your sister now." My grandmother saw through all of it. Her house became my refuge throughout high school and college. She left it to me in her will, a 3-bedroom Craftsman that she'd owned for 40 years, completely paid off. I moved in at the beginning of October after probate cleared. It's modest by most standards, about 1,800 square feet, but it's mine. It's the only thing that's ever been truly mine. I work as a laboratory technician at a hospital. The job is demanding, the hours are brutal, and I frequently work overnight shifts. I'm not complaining, I love what I do, and the pay is decent. But it means I'm often not home during the nights, which brings us to New Year's Eve. Megan has been between jobs for about 8 months now. She dropped out of college after 2 semesters and has bounced between retail positions and unemployment ever since. She still lives with my dad and Sandra, and she's been increasingly resentful of my luck in inheriting the house. She's made comments about how unfair it is that Grandma didn't leave her anything, conveniently forgetting that Megan met my grandmother maybe 5 times total and was rude to her every single time. A week before New Year's, Megan texted me asking if she could have a few friends over at my place for New Year's Eve since I'd be at work anyway. She said it would be like 5 people max, and they'd just watch the ball drop and leave by 1 a.m. I should have said no. I know that now. But despite everything, I've always tried to maintain some semblance of family harmony. My dad had been pressuring me to include Megan more since I moved into the house. Against my better judgment, I said yes, but with clear conditions. Maximum of 10 people, no one in the bedrooms, no smoking inside, and everyone out by 1:30 a.m. She agreed enthusiastically. She even promised to clean up. My shift started at 7 p.m. on December 31st and was supposed to end at 7 a.m. on January 1st. Around 11:30 p.m., I got a call from my neighbor, Dorothy, an 82-year-old woman who's lived next door for 30 years and was close friends with my grandmother. "Sweetheart, I hate to bother you at work," she said, "but there are cars parked all up and down the street. Must be 50 people in your grandmother's house. The music is so loud I can hear it through my walls." My stomach dropped. I told her I'd handle it and immediately called Megan. She didn't answer. I called 5 times. Nothing. I texted her demanding she call me back. No response. I went to my supervisor and explained I had an emergency at home. She could see I was panicking and let me leave early. The drive home took 20 minutes, and the entire time I was trying to reach Megan, my dad, anyone who could tell me what was happening. When I turned onto my street at 12:15 a.m., I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There were cars parked everywhere, on the lawn, blocking driveways, even partially in Dorothy's yard. The house was lit up like a concert venue. I could hear the bass from down the block. There were people on my porch, people in my driveway, people everywhere. Someone had strung up those cheap LED lights across my grandmother's rose bushes, and I could see that several branches were broken. I had to park 3 houses down because there was nowhere else. As I walked up, I passed a group of guys I'd never seen before smoking on the sidewalk. One of them looked me up and down and asked if I was here for the party. "I live here," I said through clenched teeth. "Oh, sick, Megan's sister. She said you were cool with this." I was not cool with this. The front door was wide open. Inside, my grandmother's house was unrecognizable. There had to be at least 50 people crammed into the living room and kitchen. The furniture had been shoved against the walls. Someone had brought a DJ setup that was pumping music so loud I couldn't hear myself think. Red Solo cups littered every surface. I could smell alcohol, marijuana, and something else I couldn't identify. I found Megan in the kitchen, dancing on the counter with 2 other girls. The counter my grandmother installed herself in 1987. When Megan saw me, her face went through about 5 expressions: surprise, guilt, defiance, and finally, fake cheerfulness. "Hey, you're home early." She hopped down, spilling whatever was in her cup on the floor. "Don't worry, we'll clean everything up. This is 50 people, Megan. You said 5. 10 at most. It just grew organically. You know how these things go. Come on, it's New Year's. Have a drink." I didn't have a drink. I told her the party was over and everyone needed to leave. She laughed like I'd told a joke. When she realized I was serious, her demeanor shifted completely. "You're seriously going to kick everyone out? It's not even midnight in some time zones. I don't care what time it is in other time zones. This is my house. Everyone out. Now." What followed was one of the most humiliating hours of my life. Trying to get 50 drunk 20-somethings to leave a party they were enjoying was like herding cats, except the cats were belligerent and kept calling me names. Megan disappeared at some point, leaving me to deal with the aftermath alone. By 2 a.m., the house was finally empty. That's when I got to see the real damage. Update 1. The damage assessment, January 1st, morning. I didn't sleep at all last night. After everyone left, I walked through the house documenting everything. I took photos of every single thing that was damaged or destroyed. My hands were shaking the entire time. Here's what I found. The living room, a burn mark on the hardwood floor where someone apparently dropped a cigarette or maybe a joint. Red wine spilled on my grandmother's cream-colored couch, the one she reupholstered herself 5 years ago because she loved it so much. 3 picture frames knocked off the wall and broken, including one with a photo of my grandmother and grandfather on their wedding day. The glass shattered, and there's a tear in the actual photograph. The kitchen, cabinet doors hanging off hinges. A crack in the granite countertop that wasn't there before. The refrigerator door handle is loose. Someone apparently tried to cook something and left grease splattered across the stovetop and backsplash. Half my dishes are missing, presumably broken or stolen. The bathroom, the toilet seat is cracked. There's vomit stains on the bath mat that I just threw away because no amount of cleaning would ever make me want to use it again. Someone wrote something crude on the mirror in what I hope is lipstick. The spare bedroom, the room I specifically said was off limits. The door lock is broken. It looks like people were in there because the bed is disturbed, there are cups everywhere, and someone spilled something on the carpet that's going to require professional cleaning. My bedroom, they didn't get in there because I'd locked it before leaving, but I found marks on the door where someone tried to force it open. The door frame is splintered. The backyard, trampled flower beds. My grandmother's garden gnome that she'd had for 20 years is shattered. Cigarette butts everywhere. Someone knocked over the bird bath and it cracked down the middle. And the exterior, tire tracks across the lawn. My grandmother's rose bushes, the ones she planted when she first moved in and tended lovingly for 4 decades, have broken branches and have been partially trampled. Paint scratched on the side of the house where it looks like someone backed into it while parking. I made calls this morning. Conservative estimates put the repairs at around $5,000. The couch alone will cost $800 to $1,000 to reupholster, if it's even salvageable. The hardwood floor burn might require replacing entire planks, $500-$700 depending on if they can match the wood. Professional carpet cleaning is $300. The countertop crack is the big one. That could be $1,500 to $2,000 to repair properly. The rest is a combination of smaller repairs, replacement items, and landscaping. At 8 a.m., I called my father. I explained everything calmly. I told him about the damage, the costs, and the fact that Megan had completely violated our agreement. I told him I expected Megan to pay for the repairs. His response made me see red. "Sweetheart, it was just a party. Young people deserve to have fun sometimes. I'm sure Megan didn't mean for anything to get out of hand. Maybe you should have been more clear about your expectations." I was crystal clear. She agreed to 10 people maximum. There were over 50. Well, you know how parties go. People invite people who invite people. It's hard to control these things. She could have not thrown a party at all. That would have controlled it pretty effectively. You're being dramatic. I'm sure the damage isn't as bad as you think. You're probably just tired from working all night. I sent him the photos. All 63 of them. His response: "Some of that looks like normal wear and tear." Normal wear and tear. A burn mark in the floor. A cracked countertop. Broken picture frames. Normal wear and tear. He then said that Megan doesn't have the money for repairs, so it's unrealistic to expect her to pay. I pointed out that if she doesn't have money, she probably shouldn't have been hosting parties with DJ setups. He accused me of always being jealous of Megan and said I should be a bigger person. I hung up on him. First time in my life I've ever done that. Dorothy came over around 10 a.m. with a plate of cookies and a sympathetic ear. She also told me that she'd called the non-emergency police line twice during the party because of the noise. 2 noise complaints are now on record for my address. Update 2. The insurance discovery, January 2nd. I spent most of yesterday in a fog of exhaustion and anger. I went to bed at 4 p.m. on January 1st and slept for 14 hours straight. My body and mind just couldn't take any more. Today, I woke up with a clearer head and decided to approach this strategically rather than emotionally. I'm a scientist by training. I solve problems systematically. Time to apply that to this situation. First, I called my homeowner's insurance company. I thought maybe I could file a claim for the damage. The representative was sympathetic but ultimately not very helpful. She explained that while some of the damage might be covered, I'd have to pay a $1,000 deductible, and filing a claim could raise my premiums. Additionally, since I had given permission for Megan to be there, it complicated things. However, she did give me one very useful piece of information. I can file a claim and then pursue subrogation against the responsible party, meaning the insurance company could go after Megan for the money on my behalf. But there was a catch. I'd need to provide evidence that Megan was directly responsible for the damage and that it exceeded my permission. Good thing I have text messages clearly establishing the terms of our agreement. Good thing I have 63 photos documenting the damage. Good thing Dorothy is willing to give a statement about the noise complaints and the number of cars. I spent the afternoon collecting everything into an organized folder. Screenshots of our text conversation. Time-stamped photos. Dorothy's written statement. Estimates from contractors. Then I made a decision. I'm not going to beg my dad for help. I'm not going to argue with Megan. I'm going to handle this the way adults handle things, through proper legal channels. I called a lawyer. Not to sue, yet, but to understand my options. The consultation was $150, and it was worth every penny. Here's what I learned. In our state, I can take Megan to small claims court for up to $7,500 without needing a lawyer. Given that my damages are around $5,000, this is perfectly doable. I have a strong case because I have written evidence that we had an agreement, I have documentation that she violated it, and I have proof of the resulting damages. The lawyer also mentioned something I hadn't considered. Those noise complaints could cause problems for me if there are more incidents. But they could also be evidence that the party was out of control and not what I agreed to. I'm giving Megan one chance to do the right thing before I file. Tomorrow, I'm sending her a formal letter, not an angry text, not a phone call where she can hang up or deflect, a proper written demand for payment. If she doesn't respond within 14 days, I'm filing in small claims court. Sandra called me this evening. She was crying, which almost made me feel bad until I heard what she had to say. You're tearing this family apart over some scratched floors, she sobbed. Your father is so upset. Megan is devastated. You know she's sensitive. Sandra, there's $5,000 in damage to my grandmother's house. I think I'm allowed to be upset about that. Your grandmother would have wanted you to forgive. She was such a kind woman. I saw red. My grandmother would have never let Megan through her front door after what she did. Don't you dare invoke her memory to guilt me into dropping this. She hung up on me. Like father, like stepmother, I suppose. Update 3, the letter and the fallout, January 5th. I sent the demand letter on January 3rd via certified mail. I also emailed a copy to ensure she received it. The letter was professional and straightforward, a description of the agreed-upon terms, a description of what actually occurred, an itemized list of damages with repair estimates, and a request for payment of $5,127.43 within 14 days. I stated that failure to pay would result in me pursuing legal action through small claims court. Megan's response came via text message approximately 4 hours after the email was delivered. Are you seriously sending me legal letters? Over a party? You're psychotic. Everyone thinks so. Dad is right, you've always been jealous of me. I didn't respond. There's nothing to be gained from engaging. What happened next, though, I wasn't prepared for. Megan apparently posted about the situation on her social media. I don't follow her, but mutual acquaintances sent me screenshots. She painted herself as the victim of her crazy stepsister, who's suing her for having fun. She conveniently left out the property damage, the broken agreement, the noise complaints. According to her narrative, I'm a bitter, jealous woman who inherited a house that should have been shared with the whole family, and now I'm punishing her for being young and popular. The comments were about what you'd expect. Her friends calling me names. Some people saying I should be grateful to have family. A few people pointing out that destroying someone's property isn't having fun, but they were quickly drowned out. Then my dad called. I saw what you sent Megan. A demand letter. Really? You're treating your own sister like a stranger you're doing business with. She's my stepsister. And she owes me $5,000. She doesn't have $5,000. Then she shouldn't have thrown a party that caused $5,000 in damage. You need to drop this. You're embarrassing the family. Sandra is mortified. People are talking. People are talking because Megan posted about it on social media and lied about what happened. She's young. She's upset. You're supposed to be the mature one. I asked him a question I'd been thinking about for days. Dad, if I had thrown a party at Megan's place and caused this much damage, what would you expect me to do? He was quiet for a long moment. That's different. How? It just is. You know how Megan is. She's always been more spirited. Spirited. That's what we're calling property destruction now. He told me I was being cruel. He told me I'd never been part of this family, because I never tried. He told me my grandmother had poisoned me against Sandra and Megan from the beginning. I told him that if he truly believed all of that, then I had nothing left to say to him. I told him I'd see Megan in court. Then I hung up for the second time in a week. I called my mother for the first time in 8 months. I don't know why. Maybe I just needed to hear a parental voice that wasn't actively berating me. She listened. She didn't offer to help, which I expected. She did say, "You're doing the right thing, honey. That house was Mom's whole world, and she left it to you for a reason." It was the most motherly thing she'd said to me in years. Update 4, court date set, January 20th. The 14-day deadline came and went. Megan did not pay. She didn't even respond to the letter formally. What she did do was continue her social media campaign. More posts about how I'm obsessed with money and care more about things than people. One particularly vile post implied that I was somehow cheating her out of an inheritance that should have been split fairly. As if my grandmother owed her anything. As if Megan had ever shown her an ounce of respect or love. On January 17th, I filed my claim in small claims court. The filing fee was $75. The court date is set for February 12th. The morning after I filed, I received a voicemail from Sandra. She wasn't crying this time. She was cold. You've made your choice. When Megan's life is ruined because she has a court judgment against her, I hope you're happy. I hope it was worth losing your entire family over some furniture and floors. Your father and I have decided we're done trying with you. Don't contact us again. I saved the voicemail. I don't know why. Maybe as a reminder of who these people really are. The strange thing is, I don't feel sad. I thought I would. I thought being cut off by my father would devastate me. Instead, I feel lighter. Like I've been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was there, and now it's gone. I've spent the past few weeks gathering my evidence, organizing my presentation, and preparing for court. I've got everything: the texts establishing our agreement, the photos of the damage with timestamps, the repair estimates from 3 different contractors, Dorothy's written statement, the noise complaint records from the police department. I even have screenshots of Megan's social media posts, which my lawyer friend says might actually help my case by showing her attitude toward the whole thing. Some friends have asked if I'm worried about winning. Honestly, not really. The evidence is overwhelming. What I'm worried about is what comes after. Megan probably can't pay. She has no job, no savings. Even if I win, I might never see that money. But at this point, it's not about the money anymore. It's about the principle. It's about not letting someone walk all over me and face no consequences. It's about showing my dad, Sandra, and Megan that I'm not the pushover they've always treated me as. My grandmother raised me better than that. Update 5, the verdict and aftermath, February 14th. I've been trying to figure out how to write this update for 2 days. Part of me still can't believe it's over. The court date was February 12th. I arrived an hour early, dressed professionally, with my evidence organized in a binder. Megan arrived 15 minutes late with Sandra, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. No evidence binder. No documentation. Just attitude. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who clearly had no patience for nonsense. She listened to both sides fairly, but I could see her expression change as I presented my evidence. The texts. The photos. The estimates. Dorothy's statement. The police records. Megan's defense, such as it was, consisted of, "It wasn't that many people, I didn't personally break anything, and she's always hated me. When the judge asked if she had any evidence to support her claims, Megan said, I shouldn't need evidence. She's my sister. Family doesn't sue each other. The judge's response was quiet but devastating. Family doesn't destroy each other's property either, miss. The verdict came quickly. The judge found in my favor for the full amount, $5,127.43 plus court costs, bringing the total judgment to $5,202.43. Megan burst into tears. Sandra started arguing with the judge, saying this was unfair and that I had tricked them by making it seem official. The judge warned her that continued outbursts would result in her removal from the courtroom. We were dismissed. Outside, Sandra turned to me and said, I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed this family. I looked at her, really looked at her, for maybe the first time. No, Sandra. You and Megan destroyed it. I just held you accountable. I walked to my car and drove home to my grandmother's house. I sat in the driveway for a long time. As expected, Megan can't pay. But I filed the judgment with the court, and I've been advised that I can garnish future wages if she gets a job. The judgment will also affect her credit. These are consequences she'll be dealing with for years. My dad hasn't spoken to me since before the court date. I don't think he ever will again. I've made peace with that. The father I needed died a long time ago, maybe when he chose Sandra and Megan over being fair to me, over and over again. What I didn't expect was the apology. 3 days after the verdict, I got a message on social media from a girl named Brittany. She'd been at the party. She said she'd seen Megan's posts and felt sick about how I was being portrayed. She apologized for being there, for not stopping people from being destructive, for not reaching out sooner. She offered to pay for the picture frame repair, the one with my grandparents' wedding photo. I told her the frame wasn't her responsibility, but I appreciated her saying something. She's the only person from that night who's shown any remorse. I've started the repairs. The hardwood floor is fixed. The countertop is repaired. The couch is being reupholstered. I found a woman who specializes in vintage furniture restoration, and she's doing beautiful work. The rose bushes will recover with time and care. My grandmother's house is becoming mine in a way it wasn't before. I'm painting the spare room. I'm planting new flowers in the garden. I'm making it a home, not just a place I inherited. And I'm learning something I wish I'd understood sooner. Family isn't just about blood or legal connections. It's about respect, support, and actually caring about each other. By that definition, I lost my family long before this happened. What I've gained is clarity and freedom. Dorothy came over yesterday with more cookies and a cutting from one of her prize-winning roses. She said my grandmother would be proud of how I handled everything. She said it takes strength to stand up for yourself, especially when everyone around you is telling you to back down. I planted the cutting this morning, right next to my grandmother's damaged roses. It'll take a few years to really flourish, but I'm not going anywhere. Neither are the roses. Final thoughts. If you've read this far, thank you. I started this post sitting in my car, shaking with anger. I'm ending it sitting on my back porch, watching the sun set over a garden that's slowly healing. To anyone in a similar situation, document everything. Know your rights. Don't let people convince you that being family means accepting abuse. And trust yourself, if something feels wrong, it probably is. I didn't want to go to court. I didn't want any of this. But I'm proud of how I handled it. I was strategic, not emotional. I was firm, not vindictive. I let the system work the way it's supposed to. And in the end, justice was served, not through revenge, but through accountability. My grandmother always said that how people treat you tells you who they are, but how you respond tells you who you are. I hope my response told her what she always believed, that she raised someone worth being proud of. Edit. Thank you all for the support and the awards. I wasn't expecting this to blow up. To answer some common questions, no, I don't plan to pursue a relationship with my dad. Yes, I'm okay. And yes, Dorothy is an absolute treasure and I'm lucky to have her.